Good evening, everyone. This is Vinod from Myself Academy, and we are in YouTube channel Excel Snippet. We are sharing a new video called Cell References. This is our video number 4. It's been quite a while now. I didn't add any video for us, so let's begin with a new topic called Cell References in Excel. Cell references is a combination which we use in multiple formulas so that we can have a complete control over the data part. And in cell references, we have three types: relative cell reference, absolute cell reference, and mixed cell reference. When I work with relative cell reference, my data will be uh, simple, and when I use an absolute cell reference, I can freeze a cell. When I do a mixed cell reference, I can freeze a row and freeze a column. Let's see how to do that. So I'm about to create three different set of data, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to work with that using these three cell references. When I deal with cell references, I'm going to add multiple examples here below. I'm not going to use them in a real-time based. I'm going to just give you an idea of what is these cell references are, and in our next video number 5, we'll see how to use the cell references inside a VLOOKUP functionality. I'll go through it in detail at the end of our the video number 4. Let's see how to go forward for the relative cell reference. If I want to add this data, and if I'm going to add multiple examples below, so when I scroll down, I don't want my cell references to disappear. I want my cell reference to be consistently visible for me. To do that, I'm going to use a freeze function in Excel, which allows me to freeze the above rows that is there for my display. As you scroll down, the bottom rows will be scrolled and it will be hidden below. Let's see how to freeze that. I'm going to freeze the entire row here. To freeze the entire row, I'm going to just select the entire row. To select the entire row, I can either use the keyboard shortcut Shift spacebar, or I can click the number 8 onto the left hand side of my row. I just use a Shift spacebar to select the entire row. Now I'm going to use another keyboard shortcut to populate my freeze pane. I'm going to give Alt WFF, which allows me to freeze the entire row here. When I click on the other spot, you can see that there is a line is drawn, and when I scroll down, you can see that my first 7 line items are frozen to the top. So the two formulas that I've got, or two shortcuts that I've used to do that. So I'm going to select the entire row. For that, I've used Shift and then spacebar, and to freeze pane, I used Alt WFF. But I did the selection before, so I got the listing. Now we are about to go to the next topic. Our next topic is going to be relative cell reference. So I'm going to just copy this list and add a relative cell reference to my list. Here I'll show you how to use a relative cell reference. A relative cell reference is a default function in Excel. Normally when I do a calculation, Excel automatically performs a relative cell reference for me. So I'm going to add a number header in here, and I'm going to create a multiplier, and I need a result header. So these are the three logics that I'm about to build right now. So I'm going to add some numbers to my list, and then I'm going to add a multiplier here. So I'm going to keep one number, and now I'm going to multiply the first number with the first multiplier. When I give an enter, it automatically populates my answer. In Excel, if you're a regular user of Excel, we won't build this formula for each and every line item. Once I created the first formula, then I just select all the other respective cell where I need this formula to be populated. Then I hit a Control D to populate the data in a column manner. So now I can see what is the formula that I've used inside. So I can just use the formula text and give an enter. You can see that this is the formula that I've used to do this, and I want to see whether the formula is there for each and every line item. Then I can just populate them, and as you can see that my cursor is moving downwards automatically one cell parallel to the other data part. So my first result is 100, which is the multiples of 10 into 10. And when I scroll down, and you can see that automatically my next answers are populated and the parallel lines are considered automatically. I can build a multiple formula here, so I can just move one more column here. I'm going to just populate the same formula to my next column called H. So I can do that by using a control R function here, and you can see that the formula is now taken the next two columns. The first, it took my number and then it took the multiplier. Now it's took the multiplier and the result. So when I use the formula text to the first line item, you can see that my formula has moved one column next from the previous result itself. So my result 1 shows a different result altogether. So this is how our relative cell reference works for us. If I need a consistent and a constant calculation to be done, then the next logic is what I'm looking forward for. The next logic that I'm going to do right now is absolute cell reference. So let's see how to do the absolute cell reference. Just I'm going to copy the header here, and I'm going to just change the way in which the data is going to populate for us. So I'm going to just add them below, and I'm going to remove the multiplier and add them on top, and I'm going to bring the results to the previous column. So I'm going to perform the entire result in the second column itself instead of using the third point. So earlier I used number, multiplier and result in 3 columns. Now I'm using number and result in 2 columns. The multiplier falls on top of my result. So our next logic in our cell reference is absolute cell reference. So let's see how to use an absolute cell reference. Why we need an absolute cell reference. When I use an absolute cell reference, my data will be consistent and constant on one side. The other side will be a relative cell reference. If I want to add an absolute cell reference, I'm going to press F4 once. Let's see how to do that. Now I need a result here, and I need the result like I got it in my result above. So let's see how to do that. So I'm going to just populate all the formula in one shot. So I've selected the data first, then I'm going to give an equals and select my number. I'm going to keep that number field as a relative cell reference, multiply that and use the multiplier on top. And when I select the multiplier on top, here I'm going to lock them, or I can call them as freeze them, or I can use the second option of the cell reference called absolute cell reference. To get an absolute cell reference, I'm going to press F4 one time, and that allows you to get your $sign before your column and your $sign before your row. Now I've selected the range of data that I need to feed my formula. So instead of using a control D or a control R, I'm about to use a new shortcut called control enter. Control enter allows you to populate the entire selected field and give the answers relevantly. When I give an enter, you can see automatically I got the list. So now I want to see the formula inside my result. You can see all the way through my left hand side functions are changing for each and every line item. So it becomes E27, E28, E29, E30, E31 and so on. The right hand side still remain as F25 from the first line item to the last line item. So this is how we use our absolute cell reference. I will give you a small idea about this in our next video, where we can see how to use these two references relatively or effectively in a real time environment. Let's see how to do that. So I'm going to show you the third and the final reference column, that's called mixed cell reference. So when I deal with the mixed cell reference, I have 2 dimensions here. So let's see how to work with that. So I'm not going to enter the keyboard shortcut on top. Instead, I'm going to use them in the subsequent point. So I'm going to use the mixed cell reference right now. So in the mixed cell reference, again, the same logic is going to come into play, but I'm going to improvise it furthermore. So I'm going to add multiplier logics here. So I'm going to just come down here. I'm going to add a 20 and 30 next to it. Then I'm going to just merge the cell. Then I need two more results here, result 2 and result 3. Now I want to add all of them in one shot. So let's see how to do that using mixed cell references. So when I deal with the mixed cell references, as I told you earlier, the keyboard shortcuts are going to be my row lock first, which is going to be F4 twice, and my column lock comes in as F4 thrice. So now I got my data in here very clearly. Now I'm going to use my list. So when I deal with the row lock and column lock, my navigation of data is the key point here. So I have to check where I have to use the column lock and where I have to use the row lock. So I'm going to give an equals here, and I select the numbers here. The numbers are navigating in a columnar fashion, so I will be adding a column lock here. So to use a column lock, I cannot directly jump to a column lock. If I want to jump to the column block, I have to manually feed them. Instead, I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut here called F4. I'm going to click the F4 three times. F4 once will give you an absolute cell reference. F4 2 gives you a row lock. F4 3 gives you a column block. Then I'm going to multiply that and multiply with my multiply 1, and which is 10. I'm going to give two F4s here to lock them on the row. When I give an enter, it populates the first answer for me. Now I can populate the answer for the rows by giving Control R and columns by using Control. If you want this formula to be improved and used via Control Enter functionality, then I can use them. So I'm going to delete all the data, and before I add my formula, I have to select the entire row where my answer to be populated. So it's now the selection is already there in that list. I'm going to just give the numbers here, press F4 thrice, multiply that with the number on top, F4 twice, and hit a Control Enter. Boom, you can see that the results are in place for us, and the results are coming exactly how I'm looking forward for. So this is what the cell references is all about. So I just gave you what is a cell reference and how I can use the cell references in this particular video. In our next video, we will see how to use them in a real-time data, in a normal table functions, or in a normal range of data, or inside VLOOKUP. Hope you enjoyed the video. Vinod signing out for this video, and hope to see you soon. Stay safe and stay at home. Enjoy yourself.